So who is ready for an origin story of Cemetery Road? This story goes back a long way. Back when I was very young, school-aged, 10 to 12 years old, we would come on field trips to this swimming pool. So this swimming pool was located right next door to a location in Washoe Valley in Nevada called Bowers Mansion. Now, Bowers Mansion is an historic building, an historic home of Nevada. As a kid growing up here, we heard about Bowers Mansion and everybody behind the mansion a lot. And we would come to this park that had a swimming pool and a park grounds for various field trips throughout our youth. So during these field trips, you would either swim in the swimming pool, you would play in the park next to it. I think even once or twice we did go on a tour of Bowers Mansion, where we heard about the people who lived there, when it was built, the history, all of that kind of stuff. And all of that was well and good. I enjoyed those field trips, everybody did. But there was another aspect of the field trip that after I think the first or second time I came down here, I discovered, and ever since then, that was my favorite part of that field trip. I looked forward to the field trip so much more after I discovered this portion. Let me tell you why. So at one point, one of the teachers, one of the chaperones said, "Hey, we're gonna go on a hike away from the park up these stairs," which I'm gonna show you right now. Does anybody want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? One of my friends was going, so sure, I'll do that too. So I went on this hike. So the hike is not very long. I knew it wasn't. That's probably why I agreed to go. So we walk up this trail and we come to these last few steps, and that's when things kind of changed for me forever. So at that moment, for the first time ever, I saw an actual grave. So that's kind of a big deal. It's a big deal because I had only experienced grave sites, cemeteries through movies, through TV, through books, through photographs. I had never actually seen the final resting place of people. And it wasn't just that. I was utterly fascinated anyway, because I was like, man, there are people buried on this hill. The people that lived in that house, the people that made this place their own. You can see the house right there. And their final resting place is here. That fascinated me. But there was another aspect to this story that really changed my life at that age. And that was because I did the math on one of these graves. And that would be the grave of Persia, Margaret Persia Bowers. She was the 12-year-old daughter of the family that lived here. And that was a big deal. This is her final resting place. It was a big deal because she was my age. And I think up until that point, as do many children, many kids, we think we are invincible. We think life is forever. We think that the people that pass away, that die, are old people, and that's not me. I'll never be that, because I'm young. I'm a youth. You just, the concept of life and it moving on is still very foreign. And so when I was up here and I was looking at these graves, and I noticed that one of them was to a 12-year-old girl, I really at that moment understood my mortality. And it scared me. I'm not gonna lie, it scared me. Nobody looks forward to death, I don't think, to the end of things. And it really changed my life. It put a lot of things in perspective. It really made me think very differently than the 5 minutes before I had discovered this place. But this location has always been one that has drawn me back, and it's just such a clear and vivid memory in my head of change in my life, of actual like realization. And ever since then, I've been very obsessed, interested. I just really love graveyards, cemeteries, partially because it's, I'm just a morbid kid. I grew up watching horror movies. It's kind of my thing. Ask anybody who knows me, they will tell you that. I joined a ghost hunting team later in life. It's a thing with me. But it also sparked an interest in storytelling, in understanding people's stories. I wanted to know who these people were. I wanted to know what their life was like, how they ended up when they're, here. And so that was a big change for me. And again, this place did that, and I've never forgotten that. And so when I decided to start this channel, when I decided to start like actively photographing and doing videos about cemeteries and kind of my adventures, seeking them out and discovering them, I thought of this place. And I thought to myself, the first thing I post on this channel has got to be the origin story and this specific cemetery, this family plot. And so that's what you're watching right now. I encourage you to look up Bowers Mansion in Nevada. I encourage you to look up the history. It's very, very fascinating, not only from a historic gold rush, silver rush type perspective and kind of the pioneer days of establishing this part of the country, but also if you are as morbid as I am sometimes and are into ghosts and hauntings, there's a lot of history in that too, because the lady of the house, once her family passed away and she was left alone, she did turn to spiritualists. There are reports of the Bowers Mansion being haunted. So there's a little bit of some for everybody, but I encourage you to look it up. That is the origin of Cemetery Road. And moving forward, I encourage you, I invite you to come along with me on this journey and head down that road with me.